Welcome to another edition of the Talkin Solutions with the Chesh podcast. I'm your host, William Cheshire, hence the Chesh, my old radio name back in the day when I was once a radio broadcaster. I have a special guest with us today for this episode. We have Keith Williams of Skill Stadium. Keith, thanks so much for joining us. How are you today?
Great, Will. Thanks for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here and to chat with you.
Keith, tell us a little bit about what Skill Stadium does to solve problems. This podcast is about, the solutions to some of those problems. Give us a little bit of a background about Skill Stadium and what it is that it does and the platform that it provides.
Sure, will do. So the challenge that we have in the job market, particularly if you're on the employer side, bringing somebody on, is bringing in people for an interview who are not what you expected. This happens all the time. What somebody appears to be on paper, it's on a resume, isn't always what's going to walk into that door. It's happened to plenty of companies, regardless of your industry. The solution to that, I feel, is video. We have the technology. Here's why. You can learn a lot more about a prospect by watching them speak. Their elevator pitch. It's why we bring people in for an interview. Otherwise, you look at a resume and you just hire somebody. You want to see what they're about, how they carry themselves. And so I designed a platform where the job seeker can create first a 30-second elevator pitch. If anybody's going to go for a job and get a job, they have to do that. It's like entrance to the job. A 30-second elevator pitch is simply who you are, what you do, and what makes you good at your job. It's the first thing you're going to do in any interview. What we're doing is we're having you put that on profile now. That helps you to stand out over people who don't. Because if we're looking for, if a company, let's say it's a plumbing company, let's say it's an electrical company or HVAC company is looking to hire somebody, they see a piece of paper, they see an online application, then they see this person talking about who they are and what they do. They also have the ability for them to videotape what they're doing, 60-second clip showing their capabilities and skill sets. That is proof that they can do the job. Once you can do that, that employer now has a really good idea of what's coming in the door because they are listening to you speak, they're looking at you, and that is the purpose of Skill Stadium. And from the job seeker's perspective, it's a great way to sell yourself. If I'm a job seeker and I want to get hired faster than the other person, I want to get called for jobs, right? That's just basic common sense. And if you're telling me that doing a 30-second video can help me get a job faster, why wouldn't I do that? Everybody's got a phone, all of us, and everybody knows how to put their phone in selfie and record a video. And if you are really good at your job, which I'm going to assume you are if you're applying for jobs that you're trying to get, then why not do a video? Even if you do multiple takes for an elevator pitch, what's that going to take? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? And that's if you're doing it over and over and over. I believe that most normal people who are fairly competent at their job should be able to do that within 5 minutes.
I think it displays confidence as well.
Yeah. I mean, it's where we're going. Here's what I envision with this platform. It's a way to attract opportunities because you've created a strong online profile. We're living in a day and time where people just don't hire you just because, I got an application to hire you. They're going to dig around a little bit, see what you're about. Even before they even bring you in, they want to know what's coming in that door. Like I said, I feel like video is a game changer, and it helps people. It gives you a leg up over the other people who are not doing it.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I mean, I think all the data supports that as well. I know from marketing statistics and things of that nature, video just performs better across all the platforms. So implementing that into the job board area in order for people to have an opportunity to really give that elevator pitch and present themselves is interesting. Keith Williams again with us, the founder of Skill Stadium. And Keith, One thing that really interests me about what you're doing is kind of the target market and the niches that you're going after as well, because it's an area of work that I think often gets overlooked, particularly in America, even though there are really, really quality, high-paying, and good jobs within the skilled trades, hence the name Skills Stadium. So I'm wondering if you can just kind of tell us a little bit about why you kind of chose to niche down in that area, because this video platform, I mean, it could work to really for any profession. But why is it that you kind of chose the skilled trades to pursue?
Well, I chose the skilled trades because I recognize that a lot of people are not going to college, and we've always pushed people to go to college. Had I grown up in a different generation, I don't think I would have gone to college. I wasn't a great student. I think I would have been somebody who probably would have gone into the skilled trades. But at the time that I grew up, that's what, we are products of the environment that we grew up in. And so I wanted to help that kid, that young person who's not sure what they want to do, but who still has to make a living wage. I also want to help working people, what I call the working poor, which is people who are not making a living wage. Will, you've been around. You know the world we live in, we have people who are struggling, right? Like, you see it, we all see it. You can flip on the news and you see people who are fighting for $15 an hour, and even $15 an hour is not a living wage. But we know people are struggling. And I feel that this is an avenue to really help change people's lives. And I had people who helped me when I was coming up. I once was working poor. When I finished college, I worked retail. I didn't make a lot of money, so I know what that's like. So I feel like creating a platform focused on the skilled trades, it's the quickest way to get people to a living wage. And it's very inclusive because the barriers to entry are not as high, meaning that you're not having to pay $20,000, $30,000 a year for college. That eliminates a lot of people, right? So I feel like let's give people a real opportunity. I hate when people talk about an opportunity that has such a high barrier that barely anybody can get it. It's like people who are like multimillionaires. Well, I started my business and now I'm a multimillionaire. You can do it too. People are like, I can't relate to that. But a skilled trade, hey, in 6 months to a year, you could start with a wage of $45,000 to $50,000, and I can prove it. That's not a barrier that's above and beyond for the regular folk. I could be 19, finished high school, 20 years old, working in retail, $8, $9 an hour, and in 6 months to a year, I can more than double my income. And that's real without going into debt $30,000. That's changing people's lives. And that's the main reason why I'm doing it. I love helping young people. I had people that helped me when I was younger. I had people that helped me when I was working poor, working retail. So this gives me an opportunity to do that. I'm also skilled at having a sales background. And how do you get into a company? It's a process, right? And that's one of the things that I feel the platform will also emphasize. That's what I see the value, is having that roadmap, which is day in the life videos. I do podcasts and I do blogs. So however people want to consume that content, there is what I call a roadmap, a process. And that's what most people are looking for. You tell people here's how you do it. And it is not a barrier that's so high that you can't do it. So the regular, I didn't do great in school. I'm a regular person, can go and do this and still, increase their income and make a good wage. So that's primarily why I'm doing what I'm doing.
I love it. And I love the roadmap reference as well. I was chatting with a woman, April, in my previous episode, and she's created a platform for, high level college kids in terms of education, but providing them with internships at startups. And the same type thing. And what she was saying, she's a Cornell graduate, is that she always had a roadmap. She was like, if I once I was good at school, it was pretty easy for me to kind of follow my the path, because the next forward, the roadmap is always there. But it's not always there for entrepreneurship, and then which is what she pursued and didn't really know. And then for the skilled trades as well. I feel like the education, the awareness of that at junior high and high school is not there. So I think that creating that roadmap, providing a platform that's not only going to help the job seeker get a job, but also educate them in a process that's going to help them long term with, hence the name Skill Stadium, with their skills and elevator pitch, I think is really, really outstanding. So tell us a little more about the content that you produce, because I do know that you have your own podcast that's been churning along. So tell us a little bit about that and the blog and everything.
Sure. So, Will, what I do is I go and I interview the business owners and the people who are actually doing the work. I feel the best way that if you want to learn about something, watch the people who are doing it. I don't think there's any substitute for that. If you want to get a job, the best person to speak to is the person who's going to hire you, right? So I'm asking them questions. I talk to the business owners and I tell me what a great candidate looks like. Tell me what people need to do right now to get in your company. I don't know, if I was looking for a job and someone was interviewing the owner of the company I was interviewing for, I would want to listen to what that person has to say. I would think there'd be some very valuable information. So that's what I do. And the next thing is I interview people who are actually doing the work. Because as somebody who's changed careers, I never changed careers without talking to somebody who's doing a job. And this is even in my 20s, my 30s, my 40s. I never went into a job if I didn't talk to somebody who was doing it. Why? Because they're going to know things that I'm just not going to know. They're going to share some things that I might like. They're going to share some things I might not like, but it's going to help to prepare me. I don't know another way that you can do that. So that's also why I do the podcast. That's also why I do the day in the life interviews. So the day in the life interviews are a little different. They're 5 minutes and they're on YouTube. And that's interviewing the actual people who are doing the work. Basically, I ask them questions like, hey, why are you doing this work? What are the characteristics of people who are successful? What do you get paid when you just get started? Very important. Don't listen to what someone is making who's been in a job 20 years, because that's not where you're going to be. When people are just starting, that guy who just gets out of his apprenticeship, who's, in 6 months from now is going to be going into the job market. Oh, he's going to make, or she's going to make this amount. That's what people want to hear. All right, what's the process? How long does it take? And what do you like about the job? What do you do on the job? And we condense this in 5 minutes. Quick to consume, and we interview multiple people. I interview women, I interview men, I interview every different nationality. So you get different perspectives. I interview people who are older, I interview people who are younger. So if you're looking at that now, you can sit here and go, even though these are both, let's say, plumbers. This is a plumber, a female plumber in her 20s. This is a male plumber in his 50s. You're going to have a little different perspective, right? And so that's the value of what we're doing, is we're giving you information from people who are actually doing the work. And like I said, there's no better way to learn about a profession than from someone who's in it. I'm not a fan of theory. I'm not a fan of going and reading a book. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think you get better information when you talk to somebody who's like, here's how we do it. Here's what's going on when I'm on a work site. Yeah, that's what I want to know. Not what I can just Google. Anybody can Google that. No, I want to talk to the person who's doing the work.
Yeah. I want to learn about the small little issues that you have on the job that can only be experienced when you're actually doing the job. How do you react? How do you change? And how can I, adapt to that? Because those are the things that are going to make you an effective worker. Keith, I'm curious.
I also talk to people. I also talk to people before the interview to help them understand why we're doing it. So I tell them I need people to be candid. I need people who are going to tell it like it is. So don't sugarcoat it. Because I've had people tell me, oh, they say that you make this amount of money. You don't. Here's what you make. Real world. So when people are Googling and saying, yeah, but the Google, and it says you make 25. He's like, no, you don't. You make 15 when you're just getting started. Here's why. Let me tell you why. That's why the best content, the best information is from the people who are doing the work.
Absolutely. Do you find there to be, when it comes to those wages, particularly a starting wage when you get out, do you see a big difference depending on the region of the U.S. where they're in?
Yes,
is it a lot different?
Yes, definitely. So, obviously, if you look at places like the Northeast, New York, Boston, West Coast, California, salaries are going to be higher than, say, the Southeast. Cost of living is higher, So you have to really dig into the data. I can tell you, even when I was in the corporate world, I would always call people in the companies and ask them, even when I was interviewing for jobs, I'd see discrepancies from what the HR person was. I give you a crazy story. I was interviewing for a job in New York, a sales job, and I called into the company. I looked up this guy, found him on LinkedIn, and he was making $30,000 more than what they were offering me to do the same job. And that's because I reached out. That's why you can't look. I just don't listen to go talk to people who are working. Ask them what they make, right? And it's funny, people will tell you, because you're a stranger, they might not, he probably wouldn't tell his best friend what he makes. But I'm a stranger, so he'll tell me. So I say that just to say that you've got to really talk to people. Yes, you can look online, there's information online, but it's not always accurate.
No.
They get it wrong sometimes.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. I especially see so, with my generation and a little younger, is that far more open talking about salaries and talking about what do you get paid, which I think for the worker, like you're saying, is pretty good because it tells you what it is. It's going to hold that employer kind of accountable and kind of give a little more reasons for what they're doing. So I find that really interesting and cool that they do that. I'm curious to see kind of what the reception's been, when you're approaching these people, particularly if they're cold, and you don't know them, what's kind of the reaction that you get once you kind of tell them about this platform and what you're trying to do? Sure.
So when I call companies, at first they are a little hesitant to talk with me. It's definitely, you got to do a few calls, but what has helped me, particularly with the podcast, is I send them information and I make it about them. So I tell them why we're doing it. And we're doing the podcast, one, because we want to help our young people learn about the skill trade. So it taps into your value. So I'll ask people, I'm pretty candid. I'll say, we're trying to help young people get into your profession. I'll also point out that I know there's a shortage in your profession. So it only benefits you to have people come into your profession. And good business people get that. They understand that if they don't get good people to work in their industry, they're in trouble. And there's a shortage right now. So any business person who with half a brain understands that the ramifications if we don't get more young people in the skilled trades. Plus, we're talking about helping young people. I always tap into what people value. And I tell them, hey, I'm pretty candid. I say, hey, when you would do this podcast, what happens sometimes is I have young people, because I do a virtual career dates in the local high schools. I say, would you be open to having a conversation with a high school student for 7 minutes about your profession? What does that tell me? There's no financial benefit for you, but you're going to help a kid. And that tells me a lot about what you value. So when I do that, I find that companies are more receptive. When they understand your mission, what you're doing, and they say, wow, that's good work. And they also understand there's a benefit to them, because after you do the podcast, I'm going to promote the podcast episode, which means I'm promoting your company. So good business people, especially people who have online presence, like you've got a Facebook page. I already know that social media is important. Otherwise, you wouldn't have a Facebook page. Then I see if you have Instagram. So I do my research on companies, and I see that those companies that have online social media presence, they're going to be more open to it. And then also I remind them that there's really a low risk to this. This is a job site. If you find talent on it and you're able to hire people, then you already know there's value. There's no risk. We're not asking you for money. We're saying here's a place where we know, the way I put it to people, I'm like, I know there's a shortage in the skilled trades. And I've talked to a lot of your fellow business owners, people in your industry. As soon as you say that, you get people's attention right away. And when you know their numbers, so I'm like, so I know that a seasoned plumber represents $250,000 in profit for you as a business. Once you start knowing their numbers and you say, hey, I've talked to companies, now I've got their attention. And I'm not asking you for money. I'm saying, check it out. Tell me what you think. Give me your feedback, because everybody likes to get feedback. Tell me what you think about the platform, And oh, by the way, you could find somebody, you're already having a hard time finding people. You can go find people on the platform. So, I think people just want to be able to, it's trust, right? I don't know you. So it's just building up that trust. And, right now we're not live. So as I'm talking to people, this is pre-launch, because I've revamped the platform, just so you know. So when I do talk to those people, It's just telling them, hey, it's in the process of coming out. So I'm not pushing for them to buy anything. I'm just saying, here's this platform that's coming out. I want to get on your radar, sending you information. And I've found that, like I said, it's a process to get in front of people because they don't know you. But I think people have been pretty receptive to it.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Like I said earlier at the beginning of the podcast, and like we've talked about before, I feel like it's kind of a neglected industry when it comes to technology and things of that nature. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's kind of the area where it's a little bit behind some of the other industries. And I think a large part of that is that there aren't too many people trying to solve that problem. In fact, I'm in the technical space. I know I have a lot of developer friends, and they always have ideas of what to do, and I don't think there's been one time that they've come up with an idea that fits for the skilled trades or anything like that. So I find that really interesting. So I was curious to see kind of their response on that, and especially so as it does get to launch. The pre-launch is great for the hype. When it does get to launch, to see what they do. On the flip side of that, though, then you have the applicant. You need to have enough people that these employers can come in and make those hires as well. So tell me a little bit about how you've been promoting that side of the platform as well. Sure. To get those applicants on there.
Sure. So my first place that I've targeted has been the Facebook groups. And so I jump on the Facebook groups because they're already active people who are in the profession. And I'll pose questions to them like, hey, how's your job search going? How do you feel about using video? So I start trying to get a feel for what they like doing. I learned just through talking to some people that they hate doing long applications, right? So just understanding the industry, they hate jobs where it's commission-based. It's just listening, just asking questions and listening. And so I don't go in with a hard sell. And once I start learning, then I say, hey, how would you feel about using video, to stand out? Are you good at what you do? And it's also, you got to challenge people a bit sometimes. They're like, yeah, I'm like, so prove it. Do a 30-second elevator pitch. Tell us why you're good. I've told some people, I'm like, if you do an interview, you're going to have to do that. Do you think that you'll walk into a job interview? I literally told somebody who was walking and said, so last time you got a job, did you just walk into the interview and say, hire me? And you didn't have to say anything else and they just hired you? No, of course not. They asked you questions, right? So I got to assume if you're good at what you do, you can prove it in 30 seconds or you can prove it in 60 seconds. How long will that take you? I always tell people, how long will that take? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? I mean, literally the time that we're conversing on Facebook groups, doing comments and all this stuff, you can have that knocked out. Everybody's got 10 minutes. Don't tell me that. And if it's going to help you get a job, you're going to spend more than 10 minutes to prepare for any job. If you're not getting hired. I promise. Anybody who just walks into a job interview having done zero preparation is not getting that job. I don't care how good you are at your job. It ain't going to happen because there are other people who are going to prepare. So, like I said, I just try and understand the market. The other place I go to is the professional associations. So like American Welding Society. I go to the leaders of those organizations and I tell them about the platform and looking to build partnerships with those groups. Once you get connected with those groups, NAMOS, then they can let the platform spread to their members. That's kind of the game plan. Like I said, one of the things I've been reluctant to go full steam at signing people up because the platform is under construction. So that's been my hesitation because if it's not ready to go, you have people sign up and you have issues, technical issues, that could be a nightmare. So it's just making people aware and saying, hey, it's coming. You're also building up some hype too, but you're also learning. So a lot of what I do, the podcast and the marketing efforts are to learn. Once you start learning, I feel like if you focus your energy on learning about your customers, you're going to be able to better serve them. You're going to be able to deliver a better solution. And so I try to focus on that. And people are a lot more open to talking to you about these things when you're not trying to sell them anything. When you're just like, hey, how do we get you hired faster? And I get quiet. Nobody's going to sit there and say, oh, keep that. No. How do we get you to stand out and be approached by multiple companies? Nobody's going to sit there and say, well, I have a job. I don't want anybody to approach me. Okay? I've never had somebody say that. Even if you have a job, Wouldn't it be nice for somebody to reach out to you and say, hey, we're going to offer you this? You don't even have to leave your job. You can keep the job. I'm just saying it's nice to have that opportunity. And hey, can you, do you think it's worth it to spend 10 minutes of your time to have companies come to you for other job opportunities? Yes or no? Are you open to getting paid more money to do the same work? Yes or no? It's real, just basic questions. And well, how? I'm like, oh, here's how. Create a video profile. You tell people why you're good at what you do. Guess what? You think a lot of people are doing that? No. So guess what? You're going to stand out. It's common sense. Most people can't argue that. It's very hard. Anybody who understands today's technology and understands the market we're in, it's very hard for people to debate you and say, well, no, I don't think that will happen. I don't think that will give me a leg up. Unless you're somebody who's never been on the internet and you've been just closed off. Most people know if you have a presence online, never mind videos. Video obviously, but if you have a presence online versus somebody who doesn't, you're going to have more opportunities. It's that simple. So that's kind of how I'm approaching people. And like I said, people are seeing the podcast, and particularly people who want advice on jobs, they see a value in that because, like I said, once you start saying, hey, I'm talking to the hiring manager, people perk up. Here's what they want. What do they want to get hired? So that's kind of how I approach that side, the consumers. It's still a challenge. It's a lot of work. So you do have to get people. You're not selling something. I think you're trying to educate people on how to make a change in how they market themselves, how to be more effective at creating opportunities for themselves. So it's a sale in how do you create better opportunities for yourself? Well, here's how. And like I said, I always feel like, hey, it's a 10-minute investment, as opposed to telling people, hey, you're going to spend an hour, right? 10 minutes is easy. You can do that in your sleep. Everybody can do that. It's just whether you see a value in. I think people who are comfortable or complacent probably won't jump on it. But the person who's like, you know what? I'd be open to making more money than I'm making. Like that person who's like, I'm making $18 an hour, but 30 would be better. That person, they would do it, right? I think there are more people who would want to get paid more. If you went to work today because you had to, not for fun, you could use extra pay. And if you create a profile that can attract another employer to hire you for more money and it's a 10-minute investment, I think most people do it. I'd do it.
Absolutely.
Sure too,
Absolutely. Yeah, I would sign right up. Say, here's my elevator pitch. Take it or leave it.
Yeah. At the end of the day, it's easier when people come to you than when you're going to them. That's all it is. I just wanted to have opportunities. It's the same way for your business. I'm sure you prefer people come to you to want to do business with you.
Absolutely.
It's a lot easier than you're going to people. So that's why people have a good online presence. But you got to invest. You got to put some time in.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and that's why I was really curious to kind of see the challenges that you've been getting because when it comes to the technology and internet and within that field, again, I feel like it's lagging, and I know it's not everybody, but it's just I have for me my personal. So I'm speaking on my personal experience. I have about half my friends that are university and they're doing, those type jobs and everything, accountants, blah, blah, blah. And then I have another half of my friends who all just kind of did the skilled trades. Majority of them are electricians, but there's a carpenter in there. I had a diver, as well, welding. So yeah, welding. So, it's interesting. And I see them and, I talk about the tech stuff and they don't really know sometimes, but they're always asking kind of questions about it because they're curious. So again, I think once that platform is launched and it's up and people are starting to see that it's getting results and you're providing all this value and kind of walking them through step by step of how to do it, you're going to start to see, some real growth and success. So I'm curious then, Keith, kind of what's the timeline, if you're willing to share with us on the potential release of the platform?
We are literally in testing phase right now. My thoughts are we're probably about 30 days out. I always put a little extra time on it just because, we've gone through 3 teams. By the way, one other thing I'll just tell you, it's not so, there's not so much tech in this. You got to remember, everybody who applies for jobs now applies for a job online.
Yeah.
So even if you're in the skilled trades, no matter what you do in 2021, you're not faxing a resume in. You're not taking a paper resume and walking it to the employer. Nobody does that. So this is not so technologically advanced. It's using a cell phone that everybody has. And it's just another way to market yourself. And the other reason why I said I target Facebook, if you're on Facebook group, I already know you're comfortable with technology.
Yeah.
I already know you're comfortable. You wouldn't be on Facebook. You wouldn't be, it's hard to not be online. If you're employed, you're online.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard. You have to work really hard to not be online today.
Exactly. And I feel like your platform too is, yeah, I mean, I know some of my friends would go on Craigslist, because that's where they would find most of those type of jobs. Because, Indeed or, LinkedIn, they don't generally focus on these types of jobs. And you're essentially creating that type of platform, video format to a higher degree for them to have a place. So I think it's a matter of just them having an actual place dedicated to that solution, which is, essentially kind of what you're doing.
I also want to add something that I forgot to tell you. I'm also putting an audio piece on it, and I got that idea from Clubhouse, meaning that if somebody's shy to be on camera, they can do an audio pitch. Let me tell you something. If you can't do an audio pitch about yourself in 30 seconds, you're in a lot of trouble for getting a job. So they can do the audio profile. I know a lot of people just want to upload a resume. You can do that, but I promise you an audio pitch is better than a paper resume. Because somebody hearing you speak, there's something about hearing a prospect speak that's just more powerful than a piece of paper. More powerful than hearing you speak is watching. So that is also that. So when I told you we're 30 days out, the audio piece has also delayed it because that's something I added later because of Clubhouse to the platform. So I feel like that's great for that person who's shy. Because, look, I get it. There's some people who are going to be shy to be on camera. But for God's sakes, if you can't speak, how are you going to do a phone interview? I mean, it's just, if you can't do 30 seconds audio on your phone for a job application, how are you going to do an interview? So again, and I'm not trying to be a jerk, but I'm just saying that I'm trying to make it easy for people. And it's great preparation because everybody knows when they go for an interview, they're going to have to speak. It's like I keep saying, you're not going to go into a job interview and just say, hire me. And
right.
At the end of the interview.
And I think also what you're providing as well is you're I wouldn't say forcing, that's not the right word, but you're providing a platform for them to learn about some of those soft skills and how to best present themselves so that who knows, maybe we're talking about younger people getting into the jobs and, entry level and things of that nature, but those types of skills are the things too that over a decade of time are going to help you climb the ranks as well.
Yes.
And I think that's a benefit that you're providing with your platform too, is not just, hey, you can go and get a job, but now because you're thinking about these soft skills, you're thinking about best ways to present yourself, and you're thinking about marketing and pitching yourself, that's going to really help for future, job promotions. Yeah.
And touching on that, average tenure at a job these days is 3 years. Everybody knows going into a job. Everybody asks, are you going to retire from the job you're at? Tells me no. Especially if you're in your 20s. They don't really know that. So to me, I'm like, would you rather have to go looking for a job, or would you rather somebody come to you offer you a job? Everybody tells me they'd rather somebody come to them for a job. It's a lot easier. Who doesn't?
Oh,
but
yeah.
How does that happen?
Hell of a lot.
How does that happen? Do they just show up at your house and say, hey, we've got this great job for you? They find you online. Most people have an opportunity. Well, we connected online. If you weren't on LinkedIn, you and I wouldn't be having this conversation. Yeah. It's the way of the world, right? It's like, it would be like if I met somebody just networking out. And I said, well, hey, let's connect through LinkedIn. Do you have what's your LinkedIn or what's your email? They say, I don't have an email. I don't have LinkedIn. How seriously would you take somebody? Right? You'd be living different. You don't have an email? I think we're going to move where video is going to be coming on because everybody has a mobile phone. Once more and more people are doing it, then you're going to be like that person who doesn't have it. they're just going to look at you as this person's irrelevant. Because what will happen is they'll hire the first people they'll hire are the people who have that online presence, and then they'll look for whoever's left. It's all about just people. If you can be found and seen for the talent and skills that you have, you're going to get more opportunities than people who can't. There's no other way, and you can't debate that. That's just the world we live in.
Yeah, and what you talked about earlier really kind of resonated as well as opportunity. I mean, why would you deny yourself a chance to provide yourself with more job opportunities? Like you said, especially in this day and age where, I remember my dad was like, oh, yeah, you get into the company pension, you stay there. And yeah, that worked. That worked for him. Yeah. But like you said, those days are gone. The turning the table, getting new jobs now is far more common. So why wouldn't you want those opportunities and have a platform where people can come to you as well? I wanted to ask too, back to kind of the employer perspective of this as well. I mean, obviously they're excited because, you're providing a platform and helping encourage young people that, hey, this is an option for you. If you don't want to go to college, if you'd like to work with your hands or whatever, this is an option. Get more people in the workforce as well. And you talked about kind of the job shortage as well. Where would you rank that in terms of concerns when you're speaking to those employers? How difficult is it for them to find talent these days in the field?
It's very difficult. In fact, every employer that I've spoken to has, I'd say 90% of them have said, here's my cell phone number. If you come across somebody, have them give me a call. The fact that you give me your personal cell phone number as a business owner tells me, hey, I've seen smaller companies. I saw this one guy who's like, I've been working so many hours. He's a plumber running here, running there. I need like one person. And he was just tired. He was wiped out. You need somebody, because otherwise you're just working, because they still got to keep the lights on. They got to run the business, but you're one person. And at some point you realize you can't do the job of two people by yourself. So every single, and they're losing money if they don't have people to go serve the customers, because the customers just go to somebody else, right? Like if I call a plumber and I need something fixed, sorry, we can't get to you till a week because we're not staffed. Well, that's not my problem. I'm going to go to the competitor. Eventually, that business owner starts to realize, wow, I'm losing a lot of business. I better find somebody pretty quick. So I know it's a high priority. And now when I hear business owners tell me, hey, we're bringing on high school kids and training them. Companies never used to train people. They used to hire people who were ready to go. Now they're like, hey, we're bringing these high school kids. So when I see that behavior change, I know there's a need. And like I said, I just go on what I talk to the people who are in the fight, who are in the game. That's how I say it, right? And I just ask them what's going on. And eventually you start seeing patterns. And one person says that. They start to say the same thing over and over and over. From the small companies to the big companies. Smaller companies are hurting a lot more. Smaller companies are hurting a lot more. That 1-2-man shop. Because people in general want to work for a bigger company. Well, they know that company, more benefits probably. So, bigger companies have a little bit more, leverage. But smaller companies hurt more when they lose people. And so they're suffering. And so it's harder for them to compete. They don't have the brand, because people are like, well, we know company X, plumbing company, because that's a big company. We know the name, but this small company, we don't know you. We don't even know if you're going to be able to pay us, right? So smaller companies suffer more than bigger companies, but all of them are. And then remember, a lot of the older workers are now retiring, right? So it's a perfect storm. So a lot of these older workers, as they retire, because something I'll say for the skilled trades is it's hard work, right? And, if you're moving around doing physical labor, you're not doing that at 65, 70 years old. I've never gotten to that age. I'm not that age, but I would imagine my body's it's not going to be the same. It is what it is. When we get older, we're not going to be able to do the same stuff we did when we were younger. So, when was the last time the 75, 80-year-old plumber showed up?
Never that I'm aware of.
You don't see a bunch of, you don't see the plumbers and electricians who are like 65, 70. You don't see that. Normally you'll see somebody from 20s to mid-40s, right? 50s sometimes, right? But you're not seeing those guys are retiring. and girls and women. So yeah, it's a problem. So every last company that I've spoken to, they all tell me it's hard to find people, and that's from right across the country. Heck, that's even in Canada and other countries.
Yeah. And do you think that is stemming in large part due to just the lack of awareness and knowledge of the skilled trades? I mean, I don't want to say that society frowns upon skilled trades, because I don't think they do, but I do think that there is a bit of a stigma, especially because everybody's trying to just push kids into university or push kids to go be the next, financial accountant or financial planner, right? Instead of pushing kids to either start their own businesses, be entrepreneurs, or push kids to get into the skilled trades or whatever that might be. So do you think it kind of stems from just lack of awareness?
Yes, it does. I think it starts with the parents and the educators, because those are the people who have the biggest influence on our young people. I mean, once you hit a certain age, you grow up and become an adult, and you leave your parents' home, you start to probably make your own decisions, and you're not as easily influenced. But I think back to when I was a kid, 16, 17, 18, my parents had a great deal of influence on me, as did my teachers, right? Because I hadn't been out in the world. So all I could do is listen to what the people who I feel love and care for me were saying. And let's get one thing straight. Those people do want the best for you, right? Like they're coming from a place of love and of just wanting your best interest, but sometimes they don't know. Sometimes parents don't have all the answers. And because something worked back then, the way they were raised, they're just continuing that. So I think once these parents and teachers start realizing, well, here are the incomes that people are making. Let me share a quick story with you. I had reached out to a local trade school in the automotive industry, and they were working on Mercedes cars. The work they were doing was coding, because the cars are computers. The young man got out of that program, 19 years old, got a job at Mercedes, making like $85K a year. You got to think about the car, Mercedes. I don't own one of those, never have.
Me neither.
Apparently, it's a big computer. They gave me a tour around the school, and I got to look at some of these cars. They're real fancy. Like, everything is electronic. So Mercedes is lending that school their cars. So those students are working on Mercedes cars in their training. So Mercedes knows that, well, they're going to be good employees. So they basically are hiring all these students out of that program. But this particular young man, because he had great skill sets, and that's what a lot of people are missing out on in terms of the stereotype of skilled trades. He's doing coding. Skilled trades also require a lot of math. They will require a lot of critical thinking.
Yeah. We've
got to get people to get past the stereotype of the skilled trades. And they make good money. They don't make good money just for nothing. They do good. They work hard. They have the special skill set that most people don't have. That's how you get paid more money than other people, right? That's why somebody working in a retail store makes less than an electrician. Why? One person has specialized skills that not a lot of people have. One person doesn't. I can take anybody off the street and have them teach them in 2 weeks how to work in a retail place. Teach them how to. Can't teach somebody in 2 weeks how to be an electrician. And again, the investment, the beautiful thing about these skilled trades, they're going to pay you to learn. And I think once parents start seeing that income, start understanding they got to understand the economics. Everybody understands numbers, right? If I tell you $85,000 at 19, that's unbelievable. I know people who are in their 40s and 50s who don't make $85,000 a year. You're starting at $85K a year at 19? And there's a high probability that's going to go up as you get older, because it's not like the guy's going to get less experience and worse at his job. When 29, I think he's going to be better at his job than he is now, which means I think he's going to make more money. Right? That's not a bad start. And by the way, I think it took him under 2 years to do that. He wasn't like he was in school for 4 or 5 years. He's 19, right? He might have been in school a year or two.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
I'm pretty sure he's not in heavy debt. because again, those technical schools, those trade schools, it might be 10K.
Far more affordable.
I forgot what the tuition was, but it wasn't like it was over 10K. It was pretty reasonable. Probably an amount his parents could cut a check for. Probably an amount he could pay off in his first year working. Right?
Absolutely.
Making $85K a year at 19. I think his big challenge is for him to manage his money properly.
Yeah, which is a challenge for everybody.
If I'm 19, I'm making $85K a year. Back when I was 19, if I had $85K a year, woo!
Here we go. Let's spending that money. Yeah.
I'm telling you, there's a reason why I'm happy I didn't make good money till I got older.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, I think you're 100% right. Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. I just, what other profession can you do that in?
Not many.
Maybe a professional athlete, but think about it.
Yeah. What are the chances of you actually being a professional athlete? Yeah. Far less.
Yeah. Yeah. There's just not a lot of jobs that can give you that kind of return in a short period of time.
Yeah.
Maybe IT, I think IT probably, I would say, but they're not a ton of jobs. Like they're not a ton of jobs that are going to give you a high income without spending a lot of money on education and taking a lot of time.
Right. And I mean, just because you go to school and get that degree, that doesn't guarantee you a good income right out. I mean, there are a lot of degrees in college where you come out and you might make $44,000 a year, and except you have $80,000 in debt. If you went to a state school, you went out of state, you might have 160, So, I think my family's a fun example of that, I went to school, Washington State, go Cougs. Loved it. Had a great experience, but I came out in debt, tens of thousands of dollars in debt. My brother, he didn't know what he wanted to do. He wasn't sure, he's always been kind of more with his hands, and he busts his ass. He's a very hard worker. And, we're adults now. I'm 28 and he's 26. He's been an electrician for a while. He's been in that industry. He's worked his way and is moving along. And he's making this great salary, doing fantastic without any college debt and anything like that. I'm like, man, that looks pretty good. And here I am. I went to school. I went to college, pursued my dream. I don't have any regrets. Broadcaster for a couple years, but didn't make very much money at all. I made like $24,000 or something like that coming out of college in Missouri. And, I've changed careers. I work for myself now, own a business and all that stuff. So life's good. But, it's funny because I look back at it and I think and I go, if I was at least given more resources or more knowledge, I would have chose the same thing, but
sure.
If I had known that, hey, you can make this really good money in the skilled trades, or, hey, you can go into entrepreneurship and take a chance and work your way and, or go to community college. I mean, community college or trade schools even get overlooked, and I'm thinking, man, Matt, my brother on paper is doing sure a hell of a lot better than I am technically, but society would say because I went to college, I did the right thing, and I'm kind of like, don't think so. So
I agree 100%. I do think that everybody's got to take their own path,
of course,
and they figure it out. I also think that you're still young, that if you ever want to change or do something different, and there's a high probability that before it's all said and done, you probably might do something different. Who knows, right? But yeah, I agree with you 100%. I also think that, you talk about entrepreneurship. The skilled trades is also great for people who want to be entrepreneurs. Does your brother work for somebody? Does he work for himself?
He works for somebody, but he has talked about, moving on and kind of creating his own business with that. Because, when you're an electrician, like you said earlier, about the money that you make, it's a very niche skill. Like it's specialized. It takes time to learn that skill. And, he's always got friends and family going, hey, I have this problem. Can you come by and check it out? And, and
so many gigs. You know what? Your brother could start his own business.
Yeah, absolutely. He could. Yeah.
Just he's got so many friends and family who will support him, and they'll spread the word. It's just when he's ready. If I were him, I'd do side gigs. Because guess what? He can charge way more than what.
Already doing it.
Per hour, even not paying well.
Already doing it. Yeah.
I'm sure. That's what I'm saying. That's the beauty of being an electrician. everybody's going to have to call him at some point. If you're in a home, at some point, they're going to have to call your brother. Promise you, family, friends, whoever. And people are respectful. They're going to pay him. They're going to pay him.
Oh yeah.
We're not freeloaders here. I mean, we're going to pay the man for his work. And they're eventually going to tell other people. It's a question of time. And then eventually he might get so busy that he's got to bring somebody on. And that's how the business gets started. Once he's eventually comfortable enough and he's seeing enough business come in, it's inevitable. If he's already doing it now, it's a question of time. And that is a beautiful thing. And he's also seen you do entrepreneurship too. So I got to believe that's possible.
Oh yeah. We've had conversations. No doubt about it. No doubt about it. It's good. And I want to go back to and just talk about the skilled trades in a whole. You mentioned, paying for the value as well and entrepreneurship. And that's the beautiful part about it, because you're taking a specialized skill. You're also creating your own business, and you're doing something that most people don't know how to do or are even really aware of what to do. I, for example, would gladly pay a nice premium for an expert that knows what they're doing. That's why a general handyman's going to make less than a plumber, right? Because the plumber's got that niche skill. So, again, I love it. I love the platform and being able to create that awareness for kids to have that option, and especially the amount of content that you're producing. So I want to ask you as well, since we've got the launch coming up roughly towards the end of July, it looks like, what are the long-term plans for Skill Stadium? Where do you see this down the line? Sure.
My vision for Skill Stadium is for it to be linked in the skill trades. I want there to be more interaction with people who are in the skilled trades, much like we have Facebook groups, much like people connect on LinkedIn. I want people to be able to connect on Skill Stadium who are in the skilled trades, because they don't, their community is so fragmented and nobody has created a LinkedIn for them. My vision is to create a LinkedIn for the skilled trades. So that's my vision. I have some other things that I'm working on that I think could definitely add success and value to it. I don't want to disclose it at this time. I do see this as a platform, so I'll disclose a couple of things where I see in the immediate future that I'm working on. I want there to be vendors on the platform, such as career coaches, building partnerships with the schools, the trade schools, online schools, so that when somebody goes to the platform, they know. I want people to be able to go to the platform, 18 years old, high school kid, be able to see a video and blog and get data on a specific profession, but then be able to find school in their area. One-stop shop. I'm doing the research for you, right? Give them a process, a roadmap. Here's how I'm going to go at 18 to making $40,000, $50,000 in 2 years on this job. Here's where I have to go to get the education. Here's what I have to need to feed it to them. Make it. You know why people go to certain products and services? Convenience. You know why people call it Uber? Convenience, right? Make it easy for people, give them convenience, put it all in one place. Because when most people do research, they don't want to go to 10 different websites. When I research, I go to 2-3 websites. And I do a pretty thorough search. I got to believe most people are like that. I don't think anybody goes and looks at 10, 20 different websites. If they can get it all in one website, boom, let's keep it moving, right? Biggest thing I would say for that where we're going is a one-stop career shop linked into the skill trades. That's where I see the platform going. We have stakeholders such as the companies, the business owners, the job seekers, students, professional associations, schools. All of these groups are interconnected, right? Schools need students, right? We need people to go train and get the skills. Companies need workers. Students need to become job seekers, right? It's all interconnected. Professional associations, people need to join professional associations so they can network and understand what's going on in their industry. All interconnected, all on Skill Stadium. Serving all those groups is the vision of what we're trying to do. LinkedIn for the skill trades.
Absolutely love it. LinkedIn for the skill trades, something that's certainly lacking at this time. Keith Williams, founder of the Skill Stadium, with us. Keith, thanks so much for coming on. I want to give you an opportunity to share social media or your podcast, your blog, how people can follow you, how people can come along with the Skill Stadium, and if they're interested, how people could sign up as either an employer or an applicant.
Sure. So what I would have people do is go to the Skill Stadium, skillstadium.com. All of the social media feeds are on the website, so instead of just sitting here and spewing it
Beautiful.
off, they can also reach me on LinkedIn. So I am on LinkedIn. If you bring up my name, Keith Andrew Williams, you should be able to find me. Skill Stadium is also on LinkedIn. If you contact me through LinkedIn, I can connect you with all my social media feeds. Also, we do have a podcast, Skill Stadium Podcast. If you Google Skill Stadium Podcast, it will come up. It's on Apple, it's on Stitcher, it's on Anchor, it's all over the place. So yeah, that's how you can find it. I would encourage people to listen to the podcast and subscribe. And if you like what you hear, leave a review, share it, let people know about it.
Love it. Fantastic. And for those listening as well, I want more information, of course, part of this platform and what we'll do with the website is we will certainly have an article featuring the Skill Stadium and Keith Williams as well, to give a little background, a little summary of this podcast episode going forward. So we'll make sure to offer all the links up there to your website as well, Keith. Thanks so much. Anything that you'd like to add lastly?
No, Will, first off, I really enjoyed this conversation we had. I love your podcast and happy to support and help you any way I can. And really grateful for you having me on. Thank you. It's a pleasure being a guest on.
Likewise. Glad that we connected over the Chrysler Group podcast as well. So
yes.
Fantastic stuff. Keith Williams, once again, founder of the Skill Stadium. He's creating a platform, the LinkedIn for the skilled trades, to create awareness about the great career benefits and opportunities there, and also to help out employers connect with those applicants as well. Keith Williams, thank you very much.
Thank you, Will.
That's going to wrap up this edition of the Talkin Solutions with the Chesh podcast. This episode will go down in the books. As always, you can check us out on social media, and that's going to provide you the opportunity to also recap these episodes as well. So thanks for tuning in. Looking forward to talking with you next time.